be a few things in app that you'll notice. A couple ones to mention right now on iOS. There are going to be some improvements to accessibility. We're trying to get these in this week, actually, but there was a fix last week that was suggested that we add screen reader support for the is online status. So we're going to add that either to this release or the next release. A bunch of smaller improvements in app, a lot of work on notification quality, but really it's going to be an under the hood release. And then on the Android side, we're working to launch payments on the 29th in the US, and then we'll expand payments on both Android and iOS internationally over the coming months. But we're going to launch the first wave of payments on Android on the 29th. And so anyone will be able to send money to anyone who has payments enabled. And it's just a way to recognize people, to thank people, to transact with people. And as with iOS, if you send someone $5 or $10, 100% of that payment will go directly to them. There's a small payment processing fee that goes directly to Stripe, our payment processing partner, and Clubhouse will take nothing. And so we're really excited to get payments out there soon. The ability to nominate people to join your clubs and accept that is something that we're adding to Android, and more notification improvements and notification formatting coming live on Android that week as well. And I think that is it for the product update. So it's always painful for us to like not have lots and lots of client visible features every time we ship a release, because we know that that's important, and we know that those are really fun and they matter a ton. But just to underscore it again, like we really think the best thing we can do for everyone here is to make discovery better, better, and better. And so that's what we're working really hard on all the time right now. So hopefully you'll notice those improvements, and you'll be happy that we prioritize that. Anu, with that, you want to go into Q&A?
I am ready. We've got almost a full 40 minutes today, which is great.
Yeah. And good thing
So
I'm
we can
always super
wax
concise
poetic.
and I never
Exactly.
pontificate about product stuff.
So
We're good.
succinct.
Exactly.
You're so succinct. Always. It's amazing.
Do you want me to give one word answers?
We can try
I
it.
have the
I'm just
ability
kidding.
to
I'm
do
like,
this.
would
No.
everyone else here want yes or
Yes.
no? No.
Later.
Okay, all right. Let's see how we do, and then I'll tell you if we need to speed up. All right. So,
All
right. Starting with discovery as usual, because it's really top of mind for us, and of course we're getting a lot of questions about it, especially with expanding globally. So, room search. Have you thought about adding a live in the moment search feature? For example, after watching an NBA or sporting event, I loved a feature that would allow me to search for other live rooms on this particular topic.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, now
Say
he's
more,
being
Paul.
smart ass.
Yes.
We talked about this though, Paul, specifically, I think around like, you search for other rooms that are live.
Yes. So the 100%, like it's crazy that we don't have search. We should obviously have search for every type of entity in the app. We have it in a few focus places. Like if you're in the hallway and you tap on the search icon in the upper left, you can search for clubs, you can search for users. And there are a couple other places in the app where you can search. But live room search, it's the reason we did not have it in the early days is because the first version of Clubhouse was a single room. And so room search didn't really make too much sense. And even as we got bigger, there just weren't that many rooms. There are lots of rooms now. And so I do think this sort of thing makes more sense. Now, a few questions. It's like, what do you search? Is it club name? Is it the title of the room? Is it the people in the room? Is it the description of the event? If there's a description of the event that corresponds to it, is there other metadata you can search? And then what happens if you search and there are no results for that room that are happening live right now? How do we make that so it's not a disappointing experience? How do we think about the role of search versus discovery? Where instead of like asking you what you want to see, we suggest some things we think you might want to see, and we allow you to browse around there. Is it universal search? So it's rooms, but also users and clubs and upcoming events. So there are just some details to figure out there. It is top of mind though. This isn't like, cool, maybe we'll have this in 6 months. It's like, yeah, we should add this. So there are a couple things that we're working on that we're really excited about right now that we're going to stay focused on for the next few weeks. But hopefully we'll end up adding search, in July or something like that, because it's such a fundamental part of any. I mean, it's crazy we don't have it. We obviously need it, and those are some of the details that we're trying to figure out.
Okay, modification on some questions we've been getting around support for multiple languages. So someone wrote us, I host a
Yes.
number of multilingual rooms in that the mods and the stage and the audience are usually in different languages. So for example, English, Italian, and Japanese. And they do live translation in those rooms. So they'd like to know, how do we tag these in the hallway? I think, like, who do we show these to in the hallway, given that they are intended to have multiple languages within this room at once?
This is not something that we support well. I haven't. This is super interesting. Like this is not a use case that we hear about a lot, and it's a very interesting one, because one of the things that we're so excited about is how to, like I was mentioning before, bring people from different cultures together and have that sort of dialogue. Right now, Rohan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we assign a single language to every room that we see. And so if there was a multilingual room and someone uh, at the user level only spoke one of those three languages, and the primary language of the room was tagged as being in a different one, I think that person would not see that language. And we've thought about this before. Like, it can be very interesting to go into rooms where they're speaking a different language, but it's a novelty. And in a lot of cases, not this room that they're talking about, but like just seeing a room that's in a completely different language that you don't speak at all, where you speak none of it. Like, it's interesting, but I think it's more important to show someone high quality rooms that are in their language, so they can really understand the content and connect and talk with people about it. This idea of having multilingual rooms, maybe in the future we'll have the ability to tag a room and say what languages this room is going to be using. And but then how do you prevent people from I don't really know how we're going to handle this, honestly. It's an edge case, but it's a really cool one, and I don't have a great answer for it. But right now, it would be tagged with a single language.
Yeah, I know we've seen a lot of these bridge rooms around Android rollout as well. So I'm excited for us to think about this a bit more. But I think we're super appreciative when we do see these rooms, because they're very fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's really, really interesting space. I would say, like, just yeah, so as you're thinking about it right now, just know that it will be tagged with, if the title of the room is in a certain language, it'll probably be tagged as that language. So just, if you, knowing that you have to pick in that regard from a discovery perspective, just keep that in mind, and we'll try to find ways to support that in the future, because it's a really cool use case.
Okay, question about giving us feedback on rooms. So we have a kind of swipe to remove a room feature. There's a question about how to handle clubs. So, or maybe this is a suggestion. Please let us mute and/or block rooms from a specific club. A lot of my hallways are taken up by rooms from specific clubs. I don't necessarily want to stop following the people who go into these clubs, but I don't want to see the rooms from a particular club.
I think that's I think that I get it. That makes sense. That's very interesting. So I think that, with discovery, the way we think about it is that ideally we can just be smart and infer that, when you are when this person is talking, if you don't enter the room, that you don't like that room. So there are a couple things that we've been talking about recently that we're excited about. One is to just, if we notice that there is a room that's hosted by a certain person and you never enter it, then we would like to try to show that room to you less often or less prominently. So that's one thing that we're actively going to be working on in the next week or two on the discovery front. So hopefully this will solve the problem for you. We were also talking this weekend about ways that we could give you more explicit control, where when you hide a room, you could sort of say, um, what about it? Like, what made you hide it? and this might include something like that. Now we don't have that on the roadmap right now, but I think that would be another way that we can do it. So that's good. I think we have a couple solutions for this, and it's a really important one to flag. So I really appreciate this feedback. Help is on the way.
Okay, all right, getting some questions around rooms and clubs and events, a lot of use cases. One that we got asked about is for education. So, given the growth of Clubhouse, do you see Clubhouse potentially being used for online classes? If so, what specific features do you think could be added to cater for online courses hosted on Clubhouse?
Ooh, that's a cool one. So I think that so yes, Clubhouse can definitely be used for online classes. And I know that because we've seen people do it before. Side note, BJ Fogg has done a class on Clubhouse at Stanford, which is awesome and really exciting. And they're using it. I believe they've used it in all sorts of interesting ways. We've heard people at other universities doing stuff like this too. Um, but I do think that there's probably a set of features that would really help. Um, One is just us getting to general release so that anyone could easily join a room without an invite. And obviously getting on Android is really important. I think private rooms are really important, just like optimizing all of those flows. I think that the ability to ask questions, it really depends on the way that the course is structured, right? You can have a lot of depending on the style, right? You either have to present something or you don't have to present something. You're taking questions or you're not taking questions. A lot of times you want to refer to something visually. We don't really have the ability to do that right now. So I think it'd be more like discussion style courses. So I do see Clubhouse being used for this because I think that anywhere where you have people coming together and talking, using their voices, gathering in small groups. That's something that you could do on Clubhouse. You know, I often say like voice, it's relatively new in the world of social networking, but it's the oldest medium, right? Like we've been gathering in small groups with other people and talking with our voices since the beginning of civilization. I think it's the foundation of civilization. It's how we pass along knowledge and build trust and form relationships and develop ideas. And that's exactly what you do in school, right? And that's so universal. It's so broad, right? You think about radio, but also podcasting and conferences and conventions and lectures and meetups and small group dinners and dating and parties and post game press conferences and company town halls and political town halls. I mean, it's you could do all of those things by gathering with small people and using your voice. And there's no reason why you can't do all of those things by gathering with small groups of people and using your voice over the internet. So, yes, 100%. In terms of features that I think would make it better, it would probably be something that allowed you to display, slides or project something within a room. Um, Maybe like polling and things like that that could be used, but you don't need any of that. I think you just need someone who's sufficiently motivated and wants to try it out. The one thing I would say, just thinking out loud, is that I think the discovery part of Clubhouse is it's something we're always really focused on. So if you already have a small group and you already have a way to gather them and a set schedule and a way to communicate with them, I think the advantage of Clubhouse is relatively lower. I think that if you wanted to host a course and invite people to it and let people discover it on Clubhouse and to like ping in guests from Clubhouse and do it in a way that was more native to Clubhouse as a network, I think that's where it gets really exciting to me.
All right. Question about event series. Any additional thinking on simplifying show hosting by connecting multiple events and allowing users to always get notified for a show each week when they sign up to get notified for the first one?
Yes. So there are a couple things here. One is really like recurring rooms, and the
Yep.
second one is getting notified for recurring rooms. Okay, so recurring rooms, we when we first built the calendar, it was literally a Notion doc that was totally disconnected from Clubhouse, and so we didn't have um, recurring rooms there. I think we did actually support recurring rooms, and people would
Yeah,
say,
we did
cool.
early on.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, I'm going to do a coffee program every morning at 9 a.m. And you had all these people joining with big ambitions, and then like one or two of them would set like a recurring room for every day for eternity, and then they would stop doing it, or they would change their focus to some other room, and you'd have the calendar that was just kind of like littered with all of these stale events. And so we're like, that's not good. You want to build trust. You want people to know that when they see an event in the calendar, it's going to happen. And it's probably fine if there's a little bit more friction. It's probably fine, because that means that the only people putting events in the calendar are the ones who are really motivated, and they're really going to follow up, and they care enough to add it every day. And they update the description, they update the metadata. Like, it's a better experience for the people who are consuming, for their audience, if they update it every day, even if it's a little bit more friction. And um, and then the one thing I would say, though, is we now have a calendar that is integrated into the app. So what you could do is you can detect no-shows. So if you put in a recurring event, though, like for anyone who hasn't done this before, when you put an event in the calendar, the way that you start the event is you open up the app with around the scheduled start time of your event, within 10 minutes or so, and you tap the green button. And when you do that, it'll say, oh, are you trying to start this event that you put in the calendar for 10 minutes from now? And it'll have a big green button that you can tap, and you tap it, and it'll carry over the event description, the event title, all of your co-hosts. It will notify everyone that it started. So they're actually connected in the database, like the calendar and the room that you start. So now if you put a recurring room in the calendar, if we enabled that, we could detect no-shows. And if you don't show up for one of them or two of them, we could just remove all future events from the calendar. So we actually have the ability to do it right now, which I think is um, it is good. It would mean the description would probably be less interesting, and it might get a little stale, but it would be easier as a creator. So we could do that right now, and we might. The second thing is the ability to, as a consumer, say, I want to RSVP for every future instance of this event. And for anyone who doesn't know, we added a special bell about a month ago, which is like an RSVP bell to every event. And if you ever see an event that you're interested in, it's really important that you tap the bell, because what it will do is it will send you a reliable notification. The notification will look different, it'll buzz, it'll have a little bell icon, and it will show up only when the event actually starts. Like when the person hits to start the room, it'll be like, oh, like Ivy's starting her room right now. And so it's useful for you, but it also will let other people know, like it'll let the system know that this is a trending event. Like a lot of people are RSVPing for this thing. This one must be really interesting. So if there's a recurring club room that has an event on Wednesday, that's like a crazy event, they got some crazy guests and everyone's super excited about it. Or there's some other, show that has where lots of people who are interested in this niche topic that you're interested in have started RSVPing for this event, then that would allow us to surface that event to you. So it not only helps you, but it helps the creator, because it surfaces the event to more people who are relevant. And that makes the room better, because you're going to get more good questions, and there'll just be more energy in the room. So that's what the bell is for. Now, we could add the ability to say, okay, every time this club hosts a show, I want to get notified about it, and I want this thing to be reliable, and I want it to appear in the little mini calendar at the top of my hallway. And again, we might do that. The one downside is um, the things that appear in your mini calendar at the top of your hallway, we want those to be things that you have explicitly opted into, that are really high signal and really relevant to you, because you have said, I want to be at this event. And so if we were to let you RSVP to every event from a club, which I personally want to do sometimes, I definitely do, then you might get to the point where you've done that for a bunch of clubs. And so your mini cal just becomes cluttered with some shows you really want to go to and some you don't really want to go to. There's less signal that helps power recommendations system wide. So it's sort of it's another ease versus quality thing. And so one alternative approach we could do is say, okay, we'll only show events in your mini cal if you've explicitly tapped the bell, but we're going to do a better job of showing you upcoming events directly in your hallway or elsewhere in the app, so that you build that muscle of coming in and knowing about these events in the first place, and then tapping the bell if you want to attend them. So, um, I know that's a lot in the weeds and a lot of detail, but uh, but that's some of our thinking around it. So we might have recurring events. We might allow you to RSVP for every event in a club. It's just a trade-off between ease and signal, and that's what we try and balance.
All right. Common one that we get. So I sometimes call this a feature check-in.
Yeah.
You are limiting the number of interested users that can join a club since creators cannot invite everyone that may be interested. Would you consider changing these permissions or add a request to join button for clubs?
Yes. So we need to. One of the things on our list is to take away that piece of friction and make it simpler. And also, I think that if people follow your club, it doesn't really make sense to rate limit how many of them you can invite to become members. So hopefully we will have improvements to that over the next couple releases.
All right. This question relates maybe a little bit to the recurring rooms piece, but is it possible to add a feature that allows us to save templates for scheduled rooms? For example, so we don't have to write a description and search and add the same speakers every time. I think it's slightly different, but related.
Yeah, totally. This is something that we were talking about this week. And I believe it's something that we used to have at some point where you could basically clone a previous event, right? You could
Yep.
copy over a previous event, which is not exactly the same, but it's pretty close to what this person is asking for. And I think that definitely makes sense. And maybe we can do that as part of the overhaul that we're talking about over the next few releases.
All right, fun question. When will hyperlinks become available?
Oh, man. Okay, where?
I think we've heard it both on, user profiles, so like being able to link to a personal website, but then maybe also like being able to share a link into a room. I assume also on a club profile, so any discovery surface in a way.
Totally. Okay. So there are links to Clubhouse objects and links to the open web. And links to Clubhouse objects, we have some of them right now where if you mention someone in the bio of your profile, it'll link to their profile in Clubhouse. We would like to do that for events and for clubs as well. And that's pretty low risk. It just is we just have to do the UI. Like for usernames, if we detected an at symbol, then we could just link it. Um, for clubs, you have to do more of like an autocomplete because people don't know the username for a club, if that makes sense, because that's not really exposed. So you just have to build like a type ahead and a bit more UI for that. And so we haven't prioritized it yet, but we want any entity in Clubhouse to be linkable from any other entity in Clubhouse effectively. The question about links to other places on the internet, we want to enable that too. You just have to do some work to manage quality and prevent spam and abuse because people might try to link you to malicious sites or things that you don't actually want to go to. And so you have to think about how to, like, who's allowed to do that and what domains you want to allow, and is it for everyone, or how many links can you have. So on the roadmap, but that's why we haven't done it yet, because it's a non-trivial endeavor and it will slow down our ability to do all the other things that we've been talking about.
Okay. Quick question about accessibility in rooms.
Yes.
I am blind using VoiceOver. If I'm a moderate, if I am, sorry, one second.
Yeah.
Okay. So this person's asking, when a person comes into the room, it doesn't announce that there are new people entering into the room. There's no like auditory signal. So it makes it difficult for them to bring someone onto the stage. Is it possible for us to, I guess, allow some noise to be made to indicate that a new person has entered the room?
It's a great one to flag. I don't know the simplest way to solve this, right? Like you could do a chime um, when someone enters the room, but then it's not going to be you're not going to want it for everyone, right? So is it just for people that you follow, or is it for co-follows? And then what happens if a new person, where someone, yeah, if it's not for a hand raise, if it's just for someone entering the room, I'm not sure how to do that without it getting noisy. But we should figure out a solution for that. We've been doing like an audit of all the different surfaces and interactions like this where we don't currently have a solution. So we should add this one to our list because it's a tricky one and it's an important one. So I think we have to take homework on that one, and I really appreciate the suggestion.
Okay, I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions.
Yep.
Well, okay. For onboarding,
Yeah.
this is a question actually coming to us from a professor in India. So they're saying, as most youngsters have started to use Clubhouse here, could you please provide a 1-hour online workshop for our college students to learn about the features of Clubhouse?
Yes, it is called new user orientation. but the problem is like that is currently at 5 o'clock Pacific time, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Which is like what,
I think
5:30
it's
a.m.
5:30 a.m. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yes. Okay. So we should figure we need to figure out a solution for that time shifting thing. And I know one thing that we've been talking about is um, it is sort of with hosts, how do we make sure that people know everything that they should be doing to make room
Mhm.
successful, and taking another pass at a lot of our documentation. So why don't we include this as part of our documentation?
For
Yes,
sure.
we should have some solution for that if they're sufficiently motivated. New user orientation is the perfect place for that. That's exactly what we do there. But if not, we should come up with some async resources for that.
Or we could just get you to do news orientation several times a day, Paul.
If you don't want anything else done.
I don't know how many college kids are up at 5:30 in the morning unless they stayed
Still
up all
up?
night.
Maybe they're
Well,
still
yeah,
up.
still up, still up, still up.
Okay, I'm going to bundle. We have a few questions
Okay.
around analytics for creators or for hosts. So, top line question: when will room hosts and club leaders be able to see analytics for our rooms? So that's the top line question, and then
Yep.
some specifics around: will you ever give creator data to moderators? So basically, like, will we give more information to moderators in rooms about how much time and who, for example, is participating in their room? So it's like not data about them, but about other people that are participating in their rooms. And then like a more specific question, if I have, 1,800 followers, would you allow me to export information about my followers, whether they're just following me or in a club?
So this is one of those things where uh, we really understand this, like the questions here, the requests here, and we're choosing to prioritize discovery first. So I think analytics are really nice, but I think it's more important that the right people can find your room, and that you can consistently grow your audience every week, and you can have a clear playbook that says, I'm a creator. I want to host public conversations and I would like to grow my audience every week and make my show successful. How do I do that? And we can tell you exactly what you need to do. We can build out our own discovery systems to be better and better and better with things like hallway recommendations and more metadata about things and new ways to discover people and RSVP bells and things like that, so that you can consistently grow your audience. Um, After that, we want to prioritize a lot of these in-room features that tell you more about your audience and give you more analytics. But my belief is that if you're looking to grow your audience and know more about your audience, if you have to pick one, I think the former is more important. And so it's so hard with a startup. You're like, you always have a million things that you want to prioritize. And hiring is the best way to do it. You just have to keep building the team, and we're growing really, really fast as a team right now. But if forced to prioritize, we prioritize discovery. So you can grow your audience consistently over time and know exactly how to do that. And then the other stuff will hopefully come in the coming months.
Okay, related question that we've been getting asked a lot. When will monetization become available internationally? And this person says, especially in Europe, parentheses, Germany.
um, so this is something that we're working to do over, like, call it the, over the summer, over the next couple of months. And there are a lot of like international regulations, and sort of payments work differently in different countries, so it takes a little bit of work. And but really, that's we're targeting like the next couple months to roll out payments globally.
All right. And when will paywalls for rooms become available? Parentheses globally, please.
So I don't know exactly, but like hopefully around the same time frame. It's just we think it's more important that we can help you consistently grow your rooms, and then we can layer in things like that um, later this, over the coming months. And so we think about payments as our first version, but then we also think about other features like paywalls, like paid rooms, subscriptions, in-room tipping, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's a little bit of it's like a heat map of a lot of questions we're getting
Yeah,
related
it's
to.
so important. It's so
Yeah.
important because like it just aligns all the incentives so well. And
Totally.
and for consumers, it's important too, because it gives, for listeners, because it gives great creators a reason to come on the platform, bring their audience, to host great shows, and to get rewarded for it. So it's something that's really core to how we want to build the business. And I'm not just paying lip service to it. Like, it's really, really top of mind for us. And hopefully, like, you'll see a lot more of that over the coming months. We just want to get a couple other big things shipped first.
All right. Rolls nicely into this next question. How does Clubhouse make money? Exclamation, question mark, question mark.
We don't currently make money. We are fortunate to have the support of an amazing group of hundreds of investors across all different industries and geos. We've got a really diverse and amazing cap table that includes a lot of a lot of creators and people from all different backgrounds. So right now we are not making money. The way we plan to support the business going forward is by having some sort of small cut that we take of transactions. And the idea is we want to align things so that we only grow our business is if all of the creators on the platform are also growing their businesses.
All right, simple enough. We just have to figure out exactly what that is. Okay. All right. Now, I feel like we've zoomed in really narrowly, and now we're like coming up to the bigger questions. So, because we've been seeing, I think as we mentioned, like millions of people joining, we've been getting a lot of questions around like, what is the vision, which I know we've talked about before. But someone said, we've seen this new concept that everyone is rushing to here. Let us know what your mission and vision is for it. They're
And
talking about Clubhouse.
you want me to finish in 8 minutes?
That's not a yes or no. That's not a yes or no, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Okay, I'll try and give a quick version of this. Our the thing that gets us so excited is this idea of creating a new type of social network that that makes you feel better rather than worse. That's not about likes and follows and dunking on people or trolling people or posturing or having your social media manager post stuff for you, but that's about genuine human connection where you can spend as much time as you want and close the app at the end of your session, like I was saying before, feeling better than you did when you opened it because you've deepened friendships and you've met people and you've learned. And we think audio just lends itself so well to that. I mentioned earlier that it's relatively new in the world of social networking, but it's the oldest medium, right? Almost everyone can talk, and we've been gathering in small groups and doing this since the beginning of civilization. And we always say, like, the best communication products, they've taken things that we've always enjoyed doing as humans, that we're wired to do, and they make it easier to do it with anyone. And I, I often use these examples, so apologies if you've heard me talk about them before, but this predates the internet, right? Like, before the telephone existed, we always enjoyed talking to people, but you could only talk to people if they were within earshot, right? That's just how physics worked. Like, I could yell, then someone 50 feet away could hear me, but that was it. then the telephone came along, and I could talk to people in London and Tokyo and Nairobi and all over the world. And before video, I could only see things that were line of sight. And now I can see through buildings and through mountains and across continents. And we think the same thing about voice, right? We've always enjoyed getting together with people in small groups and talking. And with Clubhouse, part of the, we really sort of been building the plane while we try and fly it. And we've only come to really appreciate this over the course of the past 14 months while we've been working on it. But it is just such an incredibly powerful medium. And when you ask, what can you do with voice? You can do so many different things. And this idea that anyone, anywhere in the world can open their phone, no matter what networks they have access to, no matter where they live, no matter what their economic situation is, they can open up their phone and they can be in the room. And you can open up your phone any time of day, any day of the week, and just be in a room with 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people who are somewhere else in the world. Maybe you know some of them, maybe some of them are in your extended group, maybe there's some of them are people that you never would have met before, but they're deeply passionate about the same things you're passionate about. And these people can help you learn. They can become your friends and your partners. You can work on causes together. You can grow together. I mean, that's unbelievable to me. So I think that this is something that's so universal. I think it's something that billions of people could use, and it's time well spent, right? You're building friendships, you're learning, you're meeting people, and so that's what we want to build. We want to build a global network of communities where people can come together in groups large and small, public and private, and can connect in a way that's more human. So I know that's not the full answer, but those are some things that we think about a lot.
Yeah, I know we zoomed out real far on this one, but
next up, when do we have dark mode?
Yeah, exactly. Yes is the answer.
Give me a zoomed in one. We got this.
Yeah. So actually, I think one thing that would be nice as part of this next question is to
Yeah.
maybe like quickly mention the differences between public, social, and closed rooms.
Yeah.
Which is a big part of obviously how we see people using this all around the world. So the narrow question is like, what are the notifications and privacy settings for a private room compared to the other room types?
Yeah. So private, closed room, I always call it private. We should just call it private, but it's closed room is private. So you handpick the people who are going to be in the room, and anyone who's invited to the room can see it, but no one else can see it. And the sidebar just says you're online. It doesn't say that what room you're in or anything like that. So closed is a private room just to you and the people you've invited. A social room is visible just to the people who you follow if you're a moderator. So anyone the moderators follow, not the people who follow them, but the people they follow, the people they have explicitly said they think are interesting and they would like to talk to. They're the only ones who can see in the room, and they're awesome. They're like fun little dinner parties. They're super intimate and cool. And then the default is an open room that anyone can see and join. And all of them are great, and they serve very different purposes.
All right, and then one final question here from community. To make it safe and trust a profile and avoid potential trolls, could you make it mandatory to add information on the bio before users are able to use the app?
We could do that, but then I think if people didn't want to, they would just type in nonsense, and I don't think it would be helpful. So we try and think about encouraging people, giving them a reason to do it rather than forcing them to do it. And other things that you can do are like part of giving a positive incentive. You could, I mean, it leads to more genuine connections. It leads to better people discovering you. It leads to more people following you if that's what you want. But with things like follow suggestions, when we serve those in the hallway, we might filter out ones that don't have a bio. You'll just show up less often in the app if you don't have a bio. So I totally agree. It's so much better when you have a bio, and we just try and think about like carrots, like positive things we could do to encourage you to have it. But we try not to force it because I don't think that would lead to quality bios necessarily.
All right. We definitely made up time on the back half of those questions.
I can go fast when I need to go fast.
That's right.
Even when you throw in a vision question. I mean, come on.
That was a curveball. Okay. So now time for my favorite segment of Town Halls. The request for shows / conversations.
I feel like we need a request for shows.
We gotta get Sharon
Oh,
with
whoa,
like.
whoa. Did you hear that in the back of Paul's voice just now? Shows. He even did some vibrato that time. That was great.
Okay. We have 1 minute, so I'll try and go quickly. A couple. Okay, one specific and a couple general. Okay. Video games. There've been a bunch of cool video game rooms. Video games always been a passion point for people on Clubhouse, and with all the E3 news this week, feels like that's been turned up to 11. So we'd love to see more gaming and like gaming culture rooms. Those have been really, really cool. And two others. Oh, commute shows. Now that like some people are commuting, they're going to the office. Like I've had my first commute. It's really strange, and it's awesome. Like I really enjoyed listening to Clubhouse on my commute, and I typically listen to like news shows or things like that. But I would love to see people have shows that are purpose built for like the morning commute or the drive home or lunch hour or like unwind at night. So I think like shows that are specifically built for commuting would be really cool, and you can start to get people in the habit of just tuning in every day, every time they head out for work, every time they head home from work. So those like really excited to see more of those. And then the third one, I always feel that I know like it might seem a little silly, but a lot of times the most powerful rooms that I see are ones that have some sort of structure that encourages people to speak authentically. Like the rosebud thorn format that I can't even remember who popularized that, whether it was like Andrew or Scooter or someone else, but like I think rosebud thorn is something good that's happening in your life, something new that's happening in your life, and something difficult that's happening in your life right now. And you just bring people up and they can say each of those things. It especially when you pair it with audio, it just leads to these really personal and vulnerable and authentic conversations that are super powerful. So I'd love to see someone start like a nightly show, Rosebud Thorn, or some other format like that encourages people to be really authentic. So those are my three: video game rooms, commute shows, Rosebud Thorn. Those are just top of mind. As always, people come up with better stuff than I come up with, but those are mine for this week.
On the commute shows, I don't know if they were actually in an airport terminal or not, but I
Oh
definitely saw
yeah,
some interesting ones this week.
Yeah,
I love that.
that one.
Like a real commute. All right.
All right. 10:01, not too bad.
Not bad. Yeah.
Gray was saying this week, if you could actually end at 10, that'd be pretty impressive, Paul. So I will be quick. Thank you so much, everyone, for spending a little bit of your Sunday with us. We're immensely grateful that we get that we get to spend time with you, that you would care enough to be here, and that you're part of this community. It's like just every day we're just it's the most exciting thing we've ever had a chance to work on, and so much of what we build is based on these questions. And I just want to, as always, express our thanks and our gratitude for all of you being here. I think that there are some really good conversations that are about to start. I think a couple that I was going to go to is Art Club. Drew is hosting Dr. Bernice King for an important discussion about love and nonviolence. Also, none other than Dwayne Wade is hosting a discussion on wine and all the finer things in life in the Wade Cellars Club. So I hope to see you there in many of the other amazing rooms that are going to be happening today and throughout the week. And hope to talk with all of you, not all of you. I hope to talk with many of you in the days and weeks and months to come. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for being part of Clubhouse, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks everybody.
Bye, guys.
Talk
Enjoy
to
your
you all very soon.
Sunday.
Bye.